Hello, everyone, and welcome to this podcast episode on the basic principle of leadership. Today, we will consider some of the most basic concepts of leadership spanning into the past and present, and touches on disciplines as military, business, and much more. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Now, the first question is obvious. What is leadership? Well, leadership is an art. And the art is about motivating people towards achieving a common goal. This can be through a variety of strategies to direct others in achieving a common objective. Say, for example, a company's need in the case of business. Just like in business, the same can be applied in political setting. Leadership, therefore, is not just about an individual, but about a discipline, a kind of practical skills, which includes the ability of an individual, a group, or an organization to lead others towards a certain objective. In the word of Peter Drucker, the late Austrian management consultant, educator, and author, whose writings have contributed to the philosophical and practical foundation of the modern business corporation, the only definition of a leader is someone who has followers. That is absolutely great as a definition, but there is something to be said about that here. So let's look at it this way. A politician is catapulted into the helm of an affair of a country. He does not understand the yearning and aspiration of the population and does not really care about their survival as a people. But he is in charge, and his orders are passed down through the chain of political command on how to control the people. Of course, these orders are carried out even if the population remain disconnected and lack the proper direction on how to become better human beings. The people have a leader, we might say. After all, there are some followers who are taking orders on what to do. But would that fit into your description of leadership? Maybe I should put the question like this. Would that be the kind of leadership you will want in your country or in your company? Now, let's consider another scenario. A man realizes that there is hunger in the land and the people are suffering. He thought of what to do and says, "Hey, my people, we can find a solution to this hunger. Let's roll up our sleeves and go down to the valley and cultivate crop to feed our population." He leads the march and the people follow him to realize the mission. Now, with these two different situations, I want to ask you a question. What is your own definition of leadership? Can you see some example around you or the lack of them? Make note of that and keep it for yourself. Let's consider the argument from a different vantage point, the military. Whether it is in the military, business, or politics, leaders must be clear about their objective and able to organize the people towards that objective. Now, there is no way this is more real and practical than within the military. The year is 218 BC, and the Republic of Rome, though not yet the giant empire it will later become, it was already dominating the Mediterranean, and it was going to be taught an unforgettable lesson from its North African rival. Historians describe it as one of the major events of the Second Punic War and one of the most celebrated achievements of any military force in ancient warfare. Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian army general, was on a revenge mission against Rome. His father has died, and the Carthaginian army has earlier lost to Rome in the First Punic War in Sicily. Having literally grown up in the battleground, the young Hannibal had a clear mission to destroy the Roman Republic, and his army was built up for the challenge. He would drive the African elephant and his massive army across the Alps, bypassing the Roman army land garrison, and he landed in the heart of present-day Italy, something the Romans could not have anticipated, and the Second Punic War had just begun. General after general, Hannibal Barca would beat the Roman army hands down. In one day in Cannae, now in southern Italy, Hannibal Barca's army would slaughter more than 70,000 Roman soldiers on what is now known as the Battle of Annihilation. Soon it would be clear to Rome that they have gotten more than what they could bite on their plate. And if they did not come up with a better strategy, the whole country could soon be under the control of the enemy forces. As another carefully studied strategy, the Roman army soon learned to avoid a direct confrontation with the ferocious Hannibal and his men. Instead, it resulted to a sort of guerrilla warfare and other indirect tactics. After a while, Hannibal would get frustrated and so return to Africa without eventually destroying Rome. Here is the big question. Does it mean Hannibal was a failed leader? Well, not necessarily. And this is why. Leadership, leading a people and working to actualize a goal, is not only about the final goal, but also about the how, the process of achieving the objective. Hannibal may not have succeeded in destroying Rome, but he had demonstrated everything that is important to note about leadership. In fact, Hannibal Barca's leadership and military maneuvering are today regarded as one of the world's greatest in the history of military. The tactics that he employed, his fast thinking, and the organization of his army is still being taught today across many Western military schools. Therefore, leadership is also about the legacy that the leader leaves behind and the influence on the people. Leadership ideas and principles. Effective leadership is crucial to achieving business and national goals. And for there to be success in any type of leadership, for a leader to better maximize the potential of his or her follower, certain principles need to be observed. To start with, what are even leadership principles? Well, leadership principles are a set of action or guiding beliefs that a good leader must implement to move towards success. In a business arena, say for a company, how well the overall success can be measured is directly related to how effectively the leader motivates and guides the employees. You cannot separate these things when talking about effective leadership. Now, here are some of the principles that can help a leader to succeed. Leading by example. This is very important. Shared vision. What is the destination? Being human and admitting mistake when it happens. Creativity. Every true leader needs to be creative. You cannot rule this out. Have solid value system to guide your action and decision. Team building. How on earth are you going to succeed if you do not build a good team? Now, let's look at some of these values one after the other. We cannot consider all of them today. That is why we have the African Dogs Leadership Podcast. Every now and then, both during our interview session, where we talk to different experts on the industry, or in a solo episode like this, we will pick up one of the principles at a time. So get ready for that. Creating a shared vision. Whether you are referring to business or political situation like in the case of a country, a leader must be clear on the vision. They need to define and clarify the direction on which they want the team to go and how. The how is essential, and this is where many leaders, especially political leaders, fall short the more. During political manifestos, when they are campaigning, they usually find it easy to gas the people with their promises, but they are never clear enough on how they will carry out their plan. And this how usually come up when they eventually get the mandate of the people. Even if you do not publicize every little detail of the plan, you need to have the clear idea and a straight road to success. Because if it is not clear to you as a leader, then it's going to be much, much harder for the followers. Now think back to the story of Hannibal Barca crossing the Alps with his massive army and the African elephant to the heart of the Roman territory and delivering with his never-before-seen military strategies. You don't want to believe that he did so without having a clear vision of what he wanted to do. So if you want to succeed as a leader, the how should be very clear to you, at least to you. Of course, things and plans can change, situations usually do. But a leader with a clear vision and plan have more chances of succeeding even with unpredictable changes than those without a clear vision. As for communicating the vision, there are many ways to go about that. so that the people can understand where they are going with their leader. In the case of a country, for example, and also in other situations, you can create a mission statement, post it around the workplaces, and share with your team so they can have a picture of the destination. This is so important and should never be underestimated. Creativity in leadership. One of the most important characteristics of effective leadership is creativity, and it fosters a successful and healthy workplace environment, or a country as the case may be. Elon Musk, the South African-born US business magnate, founder and CEO of SpaceX, is a good example of a creative leader. Whether you are talking of his work for PayPal, SpaceX, Tesla, or Solar City, the effort of Elon Musk have always revolved around his vision to improve the world and humanity. His goals include the reduction of global warming through sustainable energy production and consumption, and also to reduce the risk of human extinction by making life multiplanetary with a human colony on Mars. At one time he said, and I quote, "I think life on Earth must be about more than just solving problems. It's going to be something inspiring even if it is vicarious." I'm not saying that like Elon Musk, your vision as a leader must be as big as making life multiplanetary with human colony on Mars. That is only an example, and I'm sure you get the point. Now, by definition, creativity is a phenomenon whereby something somehow new and somehow valuable is formed. This does not mean that the outcome of the creative process must be a physical object. It can actually be an intangible item like a great idea or a process of doing something. In leadership, creativity opens up different kinds of opportunity, like for example, in problem solving, achieving goal setting, and inspiring team leader to be creative and to find new ways of doing things. And this can be very advantageous in a variety of ways. Do you remember the story I earlier shared of hunger in the land, where the leader had to lead the people into food cultivation? A different way to resolve that same problem could be like, fine, my people. Now, there is hunger in the land. As your leader, I have set aside a price, a substantial amount of money for the top 100 farmers in the land. Now, what will happen is that the people, in an attempt to win the prize, will go to cultivate the land. Of course, some will win the prize, but with the rising number of people who have gone into the cultivation of crops, there will be more food in the land. Therefore, the problem of hunger has not been resolved by the people themselves. There is no one solution for all the problems. But if you are a creative leader, you will understand that for every single problem around you, there also lies the possibility of a solution. Your duty is to find that solution or the type that can work for you through your creativity. Create a positive culture. Studies have shown that a positive culture develops happier and more engaging employees, which in turn can boost productivity, lower the rate of absenteeism, and increase the profit margin of the organization. Who doesn't want to be among positive and happy people? A positive culture is a very powerful and critical point in leadership and organization. And a great leader, whether in a country or in a business organization, should make an effort to create an environment of positivity, trust, and high morale among the people. That is what creates an environment where people want to be. Now, here comes the big one, Ubuntu. What is Ubuntu? You might want to ask. So let's find out. Ubuntu is an African term for humanism, which basically stresses the importance of human collectivism, like sharing and caring for one another. It is a way of life, and it places emphasis on community, solidarity, and collective existence. As an idea, Ubuntu means the opposite of being selfish and self-centered. It promotes cooperation between individuals, different cultures, and nations. Fine. As a principle of leadership, Ubuntu is an African idea, but it really does embrace all cultures and speak directly to one humanity. The Europeans, for example, through their self-centeredness and individualism, have caused a lot of havoc to the human family when conquering and destroying other cultures even without any direct threat to them. In the past few centuries, however, especially during the European Renaissance, have seen many Europeans thinking of the idea of embracing the spirit of Ubuntu, which is the placing of the human being at the center of everything. It doesn't mean that there are no more elements of European politics roaming around different corners of the world, bringing down resistance to European imperialism and inventing different fancy philosophy to justify their move. But there has been a tendency among many Europeans to be more accommodating to diversity and other culture. The consequence of this may have brought more cooperation even among the Europeans in the past few decades, as against the endless conflict and bloodshed that have dominated the European continent for thousands of years. As a leadership principle, Ubuntu is a way of life that has held different fractions of society together by placing the human being at the center of all things. And today, as we talk about a people-oriented leadership, the spirit of Ubuntu should become our reference in assessing leadership. After all, leadership should be about the people, their well-being, and their collective survival. That is all we can take in today's episode, and I think you have gotten some values from it. Do you want to get the full transcript of this podcast episode in your inbox? Click on the link below to register for our newsletter, or go to africandocs.com/newsletter. Until I come your way again, I remain Obehi Ewanfo.